Hello everyone and welcome to the Gaming Theologian channel. I am Nick Peters, your host, and I affirm the virgin birth. Now right here, as you can see, we're starting off, we got everything maxed up. We've got 3 lives in reserve right now. And now is the time to start preparing to go to the final palace, the Great Palace. Now, we're not going to go into the palace tonight, but we're going to get to the entrance of it. So, let's do our intro. Okay. So, there's a few things I haven't done on our journey so far. And this is my tip to you all, is to save these things for when you're going to the final leg of the journey. Because if you're going to do a great undertaking like this, you need to be properly prepared. And if you need to be properly prepared in a video game, how much more do you need to be prepared in reality? So let's talk about ministry tonight, and what all it entails. And a lot of people seem to have this idea, I think, that it's super spiritual, that you don't do anything like, say, go to seminary or study if you're going into the path of ministry, which is frankly foolish. Because we're talking about scripture, we're talking about the work of God. If you were preparing to be a doctor, you would be going to medical school. You would undergo a residency. You would be training under a real doctor, so you could learn how to operate on the bodies of people. If you're in ministry, you're going to be doing work on the souls of people. Don't you think you should learn what all you need to learn for such a monumental undertaking? Should we take the work of God lightly? Now here is the first one-up you can give in a game. I saved it all this time for this point. My point in doing all this is that you save the extra lives in the game for when you're going to go to a great palace. If preparing to do physical work on people requires training, spiritual work requires all the more training. And whoever said something similar, well, that was Paul, when he said that physical training is good for a while, but spiritual training, that lasts far longer, into eternity. No matter how much you build your body up, and I'm not condemning that, it is going to die one day. But your soul, I mean, you're going to be raised in a physical body, yes, but it's going to be in a perfect body. But your soul is what you bring with you forever, that you have the influence on. So, what I'm saying then is, you need to be prepared to go into ministry, just like you need to be prepared for any other operation. If you wanted to go overseas, and let's say, you wanted to go and do ministry in a Muslim country, and share Christianity with Muslims, that's an excellent desire to have. I fully support it. But if you're doing that and you're saying, yeah, I'm just, not going to study Islam, and I'm not going to learn the language or culture of these people, then you are engaging in foolishness again. And frankly, being lazy. Lazy with the work of ministry, and expecting God to reward it because that just seems so much more spiritual. God does not reward laziness just because it looks spiritual. If you want to do the work of ministry, you need to be prepared. You will not be prepared if you go to a Muslim country and you do not know what you are talking about to them. To use an analogy, I often argue with people who are outside of Christianity, and they think they know what they're talking about when they talk about what I believe. And they don't. And it is complete ridiculousness to me. They are in no way convincing to me in their arguments. And they come in there super confident. Now, particularly if they're members of a cult or hold cultish theology, such as, people who deny the Trinity, for instance, then they come in thinking they hold to a superior spiritual position, and because they are spiritual, they are automatically right. And so they come out and they throw a passage at me, like say 1 Corinthians 8:6. Say, see, you've never considered that before, have you? When, if you heard my talk last time on the Trinity, you know that's the very first passage I go to, actually. You don't want to look like that when you're doing ministry. You want to be prepared. You want to be ready. And if you're going to lead a church, even, and be a pastor in a church, you need to understand Scripture well, but not just Scripture. You need to know apologetics. You need to know church history. You need to know counseling. You need to know about cult groups, because your church is going to have people who are going to encounter Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses regularly. And they need to know from their pastor what they're supposed to say to these people. You need to be skilled in counseling, because you're going to have people come to your office who are struggling with issues, and you need to be able to help them with those issues. Okay, that was kind of a cheap shot. If you do not know how to do these things, you are overall going to do more harm than good. And if you think you get a free pass because you're super Christian or something of that sort, you don't. You need to know how to study the Bible. If you learn the languages, that's excellent as well. All these things you need to know. Now I'm going to use jump here because I'm not taking chances at this point in the game. Like I said, if I'm going to tell you to not take chances with ministry, I'm going to lead by example here. We're going to try and take down as many of these guys as we can before going forward, because we don't want to risk anything going wrong. And if I'm doing that for a video game, I'm certainly going to tell you the same thing with ministry. You notice I'm using also the same technique I've told you about with fighting our knuckers, because it works just as well here. Now, it could be you have a small church that you're wanting to, they want you to be a pastor over. And they need someone, and they can't get someone fully seminary trained. And they come to you. That's fine. But you should say, while I'm here, I do want to do the work of going to seminary. And if they can help prepare you, that'd be great. Oh, that was foolishness on my part. But I'm not going to go and do a rewind or anything like that. I made a mistake. And it was foolish, but that's what happens. And I think also those are the enemies that'd be invisible if I didn't have the cross item here. Yeah, that's what I thought was fair. If you want to do ministry in leading a church, you need to go to seminary. And you need to find a good seminary. The conservative one, and I mean conservative theologically, although I certainly wouldn't have any qualms about one that's conservative politically, and be learning everything you can there. And if you go to seminary, like I said you should, don't do the bare minimum. Do the most work that you can do. Don't just read what you're assigned. Read extra material. That's what I've done. And it's helped me tremendously. I can't begin to tell you how much of a blessing it is. When I had my PhD interview, one of the questions they asked me was, "What are you reading now?" And I said, "Look, if I tell you this, we're going to be here for a while, because there's a lot that I'm going through." And the whole idea was, well, I guess we'll be here for a while. And I gave them a list of everything I was reading, even just fun fictional reading that I was going through. And it was so hysterical when I got to one point, describing my regular day, and I said, and when I get into the shower, I'm reading. I said, wait, you're reading something in the shower? And I said, yeah, I've got something I use to hold up my Kindle while I'm in there, and I've got it placed on a shelf. And I look over and I'm just reading some from that every now and then. And it's true, that's what I'm doing. That's how devoted I am to my reading, my studies. If you just read what you are assigned, all you are doing essentially is putting in the bare minimum. And personally, I think the work of God is worth more than that. You should be doing more than just the bare minimum. Okay, you can deal with this guy by casting Reflect, which in some ways makes him easier than the others, because he can only hit you from the top. He never throws down. Now I've got Reflect on, let's go back and deal with this thing here. I was really hoping it would drop me a red potion, but I guess not. Study, study, study all you can. Be reading books also that you disagree with. Learn what people on the other side have to say. Not just people outside of Christianity even, but people within Christianity. Read theological positions that you disagree with. Learn what they believe and why. It would be tremendously helpful for you. Some of you who are familiar with my writings through my blog and other places, you probably know I'm an Orthodox preterist. Well, when I spoke at a church that I attended, and they at the time when me and my friend started, my roommate also before I got married, they were pre-trib, pre-mill, and well, they still were essentially, but when they found out that we weren't in our position, they took it out of their statement of faith, which I think was a great move on their part. Okay, we're probably gonna die here. Yep, that's fine. We still got a lot of lives left. Anyway, they took it out of their statement of faith, but they also gave me the honor of getting a chance to speak about what I believed and why. In preparation, what did I do? I went to the seminary's library and I checked out several books defending the pre-trib, pre-mill position. And I read through them so that I knew what I was talking about, because I want to make sure, have I missed anything? People of the work of ministry is too important. Go to seminary, be prepared, read everything you can get your hands on. One final thing I'd recommend, go out and argue with people. Go on places like Facebook or Theology Web. I've got my own section there, Deeper Waters. And you can go there and engage with skeptics. You know what? You're going to get your tail kicked sometimes. But that's okay. It'll drive you to go back and read and study more. Well, that was a short session, but let's hope we've got enough lives to make it through. Because next time we are going to conquer this final palace. I'm Nick Peters, the Gaming Theologian, and I will see you next time. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.